Have you ever wondered how one tiny choice can change, well, everything? A single moment of panic in a coffee shop that completely rewrites a story we all know and love. Today, we're going to pull on that one single thread and see what happens. So the whole thought experiment really just hangs on this one simple but really powerful question. What if Rachel Green, soaked to the bone in that wedding dress, never actually runs into Central Perk? What if she just turned around and went back to her old life? Okay, so let's start by tracing that very first ripple as it spreads out. Because if she had made a different choice, the first life to be completely rewritten would have been her own. To really get the weight of this, you have to remember her state of mind. I mean, she wasn't just ditching a wedding. She was running away from a future that had been totally planned for her. She was scared, she was all alone, and she was desperate for something real. That coffee shop wasn't just some random place. It was basically a lifeline. When you put these two possible lives side by side, the difference is, well, it's just staggering. Without that instant support system she found, it's pretty darn likely she would have gone back to the life she knew. So on one path, you've got the independent, career-focused woman she fought so hard to become. And on the other, yeah, a life of predictable comfort, but one where her own identity, her own voice, might have been totally lost forever. The stakes were just incredibly high. And this is where that ripple effect really starts to pick up speed. See, Rachel's decision didn't just shape her own destiny. It completely changed the lives of her oldest friends, Monica and Ross. You know, it's so easy to forget this, but Monica needed Rachel just as much as Rachel needed her. Rachel brought this kind of warm, chaotic energy that was the perfect balance to Monica's super organized world. Without her, that famous apartment might have just stayed an apartment, instead of becoming the absolute heart of the group. This really gets to the core of what the source material calls the central hub. And this wasn't just a hangout spot, you know? It was the secret ingredient, the space that made all those constant, casual, everyday interactions possible. The kind of stuff that forges the deepest friendships. Without Rachel moving in, that hub might never have truly come to life. And if there's no hub, if there's no reason for them to be in the same place all the time, well, that leads to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? The one that hangs over the entire story. If she isn't living with his sister right down the hall, do they ever really get that second chance? Right. That epic, on-again, off-again romance that basically defined a decade of television, it probably just evaporates. It never even gets off the ground. They just become two people who knew each other in high school, living their own lives in a massive city, completely unaware of what could have been. So let's zoom out now to that final and maybe most important ripple. What does Rachel's absence do to the group as a whole? It doesn't just change a few things. It fundamentally weakens the entire structure of their friendship. Without that central hub, the group just starts to fray. The hangouts become more planned, less spontaneous. Phoebe, who was always a little on the outside, might never feel truly connected. And Chandler and Joey, they could just stay a duo, more isolated from everybody else. The whole energy of the group just softens. And as the source material says, everyone's story becomes a little bit smaller. And it was more than just her being there. Rachel's personal journey was a catalyst for everyone. Watching her build a life from literally nothing, making mistakes but fighting for her own career, that subconsciously pushed all the others to grow too. Her evolution kind of created this forward momentum for the whole group. So all of this really shows us that there's this incredible, almost world-building power locked inside a single, seemingly small choice. It's a choice that does way more than just change a plotline. I love how the source material sums this up. It says her choice wasn't just about finding a roommate. It was about creating a world. That one act of pure desperation and courage wasn't just some minor detail. It was the Big Bang that created an entire universe of friendship, love, and shared history from scratch. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. It's so easy to focus on the big, dramatic life moments, but sometimes the most powerful forces are the small, quiet decisions we make. You know, taking a different street home or starting that one unexpected conversation. So it makes you wonder, what was the small choice that ended up creating your world? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.